Sometimes says, what are you or who are you? You should be like, I'm complex. That should basically be the end of the sentence.
Got it.
I'm a complex human.
Yeah, you could pull that out.
Yeah. You thought you were going to come on here and I was going to interview you as like your wife. No, I'm interviewing you as a student and a fan and someone who has many questions for you that I realized I hadn't asked over these past years of knowing you.
Yeah, but whenever I'm with you though, I'm already in my heart. So it's a very different conversation.
I know. That's why I'm really excited. I feel like I'm going to be able to get things out that I've been wanting to for a while. How have you always known what you wanted to do? Because from the moment I met you, even though you had no idea where your life was going to go, it was so interesting to me that you were, I mean, I don't mean to say this in a rude way, but like you were a bit of a bum. Like you weren't a bum in terms of, I don't mean it in like a rude way, but like technically to the outside world, whether it was like some of my family members or, you know, if you'd met people in a professional manner, they'd be like, what were you doing for the last whatever many years? Oh, I was trained to be a monk. To them, it's like, I was just not working. And then you come out and literally from the moment you came out, you were trying to find a job straight away. You were like tutoring. You were doing so many things to get yourself back on your feet. But did you always know what you wanted to do? And how did you come to the conclusion of what you wanted to do? Like how you were going to channel everything you just said, your intention, into the actions that you actually decided to make them into?
I was lucky that I tried a lot of things out when I was young. So when I was 14, I became a paper boy. And I would stack papers and deliver papers down my streets and the streets around my area.
Yeah.
And I think I used to get around like £3 per street.
Yeah.
And so I was like, the more streets I do, the more money I can make. And so I used to do like 5 streets to get £15. And I'd use £10 of that to top up my phone. Now, anyone who's, you know, not old enough to understand what a top up is, it's basically when you had to pay to make calls.
Yeah.
So you didn't get unlimited minutes on a contract. You paid £10 and you got £10 worth of calls.
And unlimited texts.
And unlimited texts, maybe. I don't even know, but I don't think so. Not even then, yeah. And so there was this idea of like, I'd been a paper boy. So what does that mean? It meant I had to have a good relationship with the person who owned the paper. I had to make sure I did my job on time. And then I had to report. And I had to plan my time out after school or before school to do that.
Yeah.
Then a few years later, I worked at Morrison's. Morrison's is the equivalent of Walmart or something similar to that. There I got an understanding and learning of like what it felt like to be in the warehouse, to stack shelves, to realize how clumsy I was when I spilt too many bottles of wine, which were probably too expensive, and having to stack them back up, and what it felt like to work at a supermarket, and how, hey, if I worked on a Sunday, I got paid time and a half, or if I worked on a bank holiday or a day off, I got double pay. And so you start learning about how it works. And then later on, I worked in retail. I worked at River Island. You know, I was working in a retail store. I was selling denim. And I remember my official title was like denim expert or something like that. And I was selling denim and I understood how River Island. So I was just very, very lucky that I started working very, very young. And I remember doing some incredible work experience at this events company that would organize these incredible events and exhibitions at the Business Design Center in London. And
I don't think I knew you did that.
It was the first time I had to do cold calling. So I'd get a list of 300 companies linked to that exhibition. Right. It could be a bikes company, a car company, whatever. And I'd have to literally call these people that I didn't know. I was like 16 years old. And I'd have to sell them exhibition space.
Wow.
And I remember people teaching me how to do that and what that looked like. And literally out of the 300 people you called, 294 were going to reject you.
Yeah.
So I got really good at dealing with rejection and understanding that failure was the journey to success. And so I look at all of that as such great exposure so early on to everything from sales to customer service to marketing to business to stacking shelves.
Yeah.
I've done every part of the journey. And then finally, after I met Gauranga Prabhu, my monk teacher, who inspired me by his example because he would study the scriptures so deeply.
He's a legend.
Yeah, and you love him now, which makes me so happy.
I love him so much.
And you watch how he studies the scriptures and how he presents them in this really innovative, accessible, practical way. And seeing that, I was just like, I love that. Like, that's what I'd love to do. And so then I started spending lots of time studying spiritual texts, studying Eastern philosophy, reading books about psychology and science and everything else, and trying to find the juxtaposition and where they fit. And so if I'm honestly being completely truthful, I didn't ever try to find the thing I loved. I just did a lot of things. And then once you've done a lot of things, what you're actually doing is you're collecting and connecting ideas. And I think most of us don't have enough collection to connect enough.
Right.
And so I've been exposed to so many different roles, so many different jobs, so many different things. And I was never there going, God, I hate being a paperboy. Why am I doing this? Or I hate being at Morrison's. Why am I doing this? Or I hate being in retail. Why am I doing this? That was never what I was saying. What I was saying is, what can I learn from this? What skill did I pick up from this? What's a value? What's a example? What's a case study that I can take from this? And so by the time I met you, the reason I knew what I wanted to do was because for so long, I'd been collecting and connecting ideas.
Yeah.
And I really believe today that I wouldn't be able to do what I do if I hadn't been a monk, if I hadn't worked at Accenture, if I hadn't been a paperboy, if I hadn't worked in retail, if I hadn't worked at a grocery store. I am who I am because of the sum total of all of my experiences.
Yeah.
And I think often we're looking for that one thing that we are. And the truth is, none of us are one thing. All of us are so many more things. And so if everyone's in a job right now and they hate it, or if anyone's in a role right now and they don't like it, or if anyone's in a position and they're just like, I can't wait to get out of here, I encourage you to ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What can I take from this experience that could be useful in my next phase, rather than how do I get out of this situation? Because I promise you, in everything you're trying to avoid, there's something that you need to build the future you. And that's what you're trying to chase, and that's what you're after.
Yeah, I feel like when I was really young and I made the decision of what I wanted to be, I didn't even think about whether who I was suited to what I thought I wanted to be. So let's say I want to be a pediatrician. I want to be a children's doctor. So I see a children's doctor and I'm like, oh, that means I have to think like this, do this, be really good at this, look like this, whatever it is. You create this form of what you believe that looks like. So then instead of leaning into your strengths, your skills, learning what they even are, you tell yourself that's what you have to do. And if you don't do that, and you don't have the skills for that, then you're failing. And so I feel like most of us do that the wrong way around, because for me now, if I look back, my skills actually, and the way that I think, as much as I love caring for people, it really wasn't suited to being a doctor. Like that was not actually what I was supposed to do, which is why I'm not doing it. But I also think because I kept thinking that was what I had to do and what I wanted to do, my whole life I kept thinking, oh, I've just failed. Like I didn't do the thing I said I was going to do. So everything else, I was like, oh, I just did a dietitian degree because my mom told me I should do it. And I just did this degree because what else was I going to do? And I just went to this college because they're the only ones who took me. So everything that I was doing, it was coming from a place of failure from before I'd even figured out who I was or what I was good at. And so what you said makes so much sense, that gain the experience, collect the experience to then see what you're best suited to, like to really channel those things into the right thing. And then I imagine it kind of comes to you. And when it comes to you, you have way more alignment in yourself to know that's it. Like that is, I believe whatever this opportunity has come to me, that is what I'm supposed to do because I've done all this work beforehand to show me that this is the path and this is the route.
Yeah, and also I don't think it's an activity. Like I don't think it's a job title.
No.
I think that's the mistake. Like
Right.
I always struggle with the question when someone says, so what are you? And
yeah, what are you?
I don't like to say I'm just an author because I'm a podcaster. I don't like to just say I'm a podcaster because I'm also a coach. I don't like to just say I'm a coach because I'm also whatever it may be. And the truth is, if someone asks me who I actually am, I'm someone who wants to help people find their purpose. Mm-hmm. That's who I am.
In whatever vessel,
in whatever way that
yeah.
gets talked about. So I may write a book about that. I may record a podcast about it. I may coach someone on it. But so you're not ever defined by your job title. And I think that's the mistake. We're looking for the ideal job. There is no ideal job. We're looking for the ideal title. There is no ideal title. We're looking for the ideal role. There is no ideal role. There's only a deep sense of this is what I'm trying to do. And I'm infusing my job, infusing my role, infusing my title with that. And so I think I would discourage people from finding the thing they love or the one thing, because I don't think it is one thing.
Right.
And I think it's healthier when it's evolving and you're just learning and growing. And as humans, we have this addiction to certainty and finding something like the one thing. Like we're like, I want to find the one, whether it comes to relationships. I want to find the one, whether it comes to jobs. I want to find the one to do what I love. And the truth is, life is more about what am I willing to work towards? What am I willing to put effort into? What do I want to grow into? It's not, this is it, I found it, I'm done. And so I would discourage people to think like that, because I think it creates an unhealthy mindset.